Middle East policy advisor at the U.S. State Department, Laura Blumenfeld. Laura, always good to have you on the program. I want to start with what we heard from Yoav Gallant in this visit to Washington, saying these meetings are important and impactful for the future of the war in Gaza. But I mean, what exactly do you think is being achieved in these one-on-one meetings?
Well, look, these are such serious issues. And yet when you see pictures of Defense Minister Gallant in Washington, he's smiling because there is a kind of seamless kind of camaraderie or lack of tension between him and American officials than there had been between Prime Minister Netanyahu and U.S. officials. There's been so much tension. When he took off from Israel, he talked about, Gallant said that we're fighting a 7-front war. So what wasn't said was, why would we open up an 8th front with the President of the United States? And he even used body language. He talked about how important it was to fight these common enemies side by side with his hands, sort of fingers intertwined, the United States and Israel, as opposed to Netanyahu, who had put out his own video a few days earlier in English, pointing fingers at the United States, accusing them of slow-rolling weapons. So I think his message to the United States is together we can overcome these challenges. Such
an interesting point on the body language there, Laura. I'm glad you brought that up. What about the brass tacks here? Because we saw that Matthew Miller of the State Department, the spokesperson, said that Mr. Blinken emphasized the need for Israel to develop robust and realistic plans for the next phase of the war. We know that is something that the Prime Minister of Israel has not yet done. So where do they actually meet on that?
Well, yes, the focus is on two things, post-war Gaza and pre-war Lebanon. Gallant has talked about the need, and Prime Minister Netanyahu agrees, to have some kind of civilian structure in Gaza, local Palestinians, perhaps a kind of reformulated PA, although Netanyahu opposes that, and with help from Arab states. Security, though, I mean, in Israel, it's security, 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 stupid. In the United States, it's the economy, stupid. Right now, it's security in Israel. Security, they are saying, will have to, for the time being, be left in Israel's hands.
At the same time, on the ground, we are seeing the war moving, at least according to Israel, to the north in its conflict with Hezbollah, the Lebanese armed group. Does that mean that Israel is indeed wrapping up operations in Gaza?
Yeah, it's very interesting because for Hezbollah, the two conflicts are linked, right? On October 8th was when Hezbollah started this kind of low-level skirmishes with Israel on the northern border. But if they wind down, I mean, look, today we heard 3 very important words from Netanyahu, which made me think that the ceasefire deal, which I thought was dead, I thought I heard a weak pulse today, because Netanyahu said, we are committed. It's the first time he publicly embraced the ceasefire proposal by Biden. If they can wind that down, I mean, Herzi Halevi, the chief of staff of the Israel military, said, we're pretty much dismantled those Rafah brigades of Hamas. So look, if they're already done and winding down military operations in the south, in Gaza, let's, free these hostages. There was a hostage tape released today showing the horrible and bloody kidnapping of Hirsch, an American citizen. Let's do that. And then it gives Hezbollah kind of an off-ramp, and potentially we can move back toward peace, regional integration, get back on track, especially the Biden administration. All they want is quiet right now because they want to focus on the election.
At the same time, that is certainly going to be more pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if this conflict opens up in the north of Israel. I mean, does it have the potential to really spread?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was talking to a senior Israeli intelligence official, and I said, really, is this war going to happen, right? Because you've been talking about it. Israel's been talking about it for months. It's almost like a season. There's strawberry season in Israel. There's red poppy season. And fights to the north tend to happen between, the end of May and September when schools reopen for Israel. They want to send their kids back to school. So I asked him, how likely is this? And he said, logic would say no. Nobody wants it, not the United States, not Israel, not Lebanon, not even Hezbollah. The only people who want it is Hamas. But the risk of miscalculation is high. And the second point he made is, since when does logic ever play a role in the Middle East?
Very good point there. Laura Blumenfeld, always good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for your analysis tonight.